Good morning. I've been awake for about, I don't know, 30 minutes or so. And because of this little thing right here, it is an old cat with a ton of energy, which is good. I mean, I'm happy he's healthy, right? I've been feeding him lactose free whole milk and salmon because he's old and skinny and picky and he won't eat cat food. I mean, he'll eat it, right? But it's and it's good. It's like Purina, the True Instinct or Pure Instinct or something. It's like all protein and stuff. And Friskies shredded beef kind. He'll only eat that flavor, but certainly not all of a can. And not consistently. He'll leave a lot of it. And I don't really have any way of telling if it's bad. Like, I don't let it get obviously bad, right? But his sense of smell is like 20 times mine. So I can kind of assume that when he ignores it, it's probably bad. So I just kind of take the stuff out and leave it for the outside cats. But if I give him, the whole milk and the salmon, and I have to give it to him just so, like it has to be in small amounts because he'll let the salmon dry out and he'll let the milk start to get not exactly curdled, but like it's just you can tell it's getting a little old. So I'm constantly washing out the little tins and everything. Yeah, it's just a battle to keep him fed. So I'm happy that he has energy because I take a lot of effort into making that happen. But at the same time, I'd love to be able to sleep. You know, he's like, I swear, the last 4 hours, every 5 to 15 minutes, he's jumping directly on the pillow or directly on my chest, and uh, the only way I could get any kind of peace is like just to lay on my back and kind of with the squirt gun sitting on my chest so that when he looks for a target, he sees the squirt gun. It's like, just give me some time. And now that I'm awake, uh, he's he's got food right there. It's can't really. Uh, mm. It's magneted to the thing, and if I pull it up, it'll the magnet will drop on the inside, and it's just salmon scooped out of a can. It's like that double Q big cans of salmon, and I eat some of it too. It's like uh, I'll have like a spoonful or something because it's delicious meat. It's yummy, and I'll put some in his thing, and so yeah, he's doing better, and that's great. I think he's probably gained like a pound or something in the last. I don't know. It's hard for me to measure time. We'll just say a couple weeks. Um, Kind of wish they made something like lactose free heavy cream. Maybe that would help. I don't know. Excuse me. Hairs. Like anytime I speak, the hairs all start to vibrate and it makes everything itchy. So I feel like I have to do this the whole time I'm talking just to be comfortable. Anyway, I was sent a video and it was about one of those super popular YouTube channels, like 4 million subscribers or something. And it's like 15 reasons why highly intelligent people want to be alone. And it's stuff you'd imagine. And I wanted to talk about how being intelligent causes tension in context like that. Like, there's this intense emotional charging to the word intelligent. It's like saying sexy or attractive. It's a word that's loaded with positive connotation. And to complain about intelligence is inherently not really taken seriously, in the sense that it's like, I don't know, there's like guilt associated. It's like, oh, you're arrogant, you think you're smart. And it's like, well, kind of, I have lots of indications that I am, right? And strictly speaking, I like, if I'm honest, I can directly tell. And yeah, hi. Talking to you, obviously. I'm the only, it's just you and me in this room, so yeah. And and then on top of that, there's the capitalist problem. You know, there's a lot of incentive to. I mean, that 4 million subscriber account sure makes good money. You know, sponsorships and whatever ad revenue YouTube gives. So there's lots of, and you get that by lying to people. You know, you get that by telling them what they want to hear. So there's people who are, and this may include me. You know, there are people who merely think they're intelligent and whose identity is wrapped around it. You know, they don't have a problem filling the role. You know, looking intelligent with the glasses. You know, whatever, and this will be actually this. That's funny. This will be my first video where I had to make an edit because the cat likes to keep hitting buttons. You know, his tail or his paws or his flab, you know, what little of it there is. He'll just plop down and hit a button, and he happened to hit the stop record button. Apparently, any button you press on the keyboard with this up, because I'm insecure, you know, I want to see what it's going to look like. I added a background that I made in Stable Diffusion, you know, that kind of stuff. Um, and but apparently, if it's so long as it's up, any button you press causes it to just stop, or either that Lou hit the exact right one. I haven't really experimented, you know, which button does what. It's probably space bar. And so I haven't been editing at all, like I've just been, because the software is always so bad. It's been a struggle my whole life to learn that stuff. I'm terrible at it. But yeah, there's, like I said, there's this capitalist demand to create palatable media, or there's a term I heard in reference to food, like snacks and cookies and chips and stuff, unhealthy foods, and they called it hyperpalatability. And I thought that was interesting because I was like, yeah, it's really hard. Like, I feel like I cook well for myself. You know, I'm obviously not starving, and I cook all my own meals. I never go anywhere. I'm autistic, anxiety ridden, shut in. I don't go anywhere, and I certainly don't eat out a lot. Like, sometimes I'll have family that'll be going somewhere, and I'll go with, and they'll you know, or Wendy's or something, but not. It's certainly not a standard thing. So I cook a lot, and I'm interested in it, and uh, I can't match the tastiness of something like a pack of chips. You know, they're, because these chips have been designed. You know, they're hyper pure products, and I don't mean pure as in wholesome. I mean pure as in their goal is like to be as addictively tasty as possible for as cheaply as possible to sell at the largest possible profit margin, right? So it's hyper refined. I used to talk about how, like, a Bic pen, why is a Bic pen the sturdiest thing on the planet? And it's because it's essentially open source and it's super, super refined. We've, you know, they have mastered the Bic pen. Like, it costs a billionth of a penny to make one printed off this machine, but it's also a piece of advertising. So they want it working and they want it everywhere. And there's, like, you know, a quadrillion Bic pens that probably still work a little bit in our landfills. And some of them are 50 years old, you know. And a bag of chips is kind of similar. You know, the numbers of production are truly staggering. I get them in individual like I get them in boxes of the little bags because to stop myself from eating large amounts. Like if I just get a bag of chips, I'll do the American thing and wipe out a third of it in a sitting, you know. So yeah, hyperpalatability, and there's the content applies to the same principles of perfection. You know, there are certain kinds of content that have been repeatedly made, and it has all kinds of nuance to it and draw, and it's become so distant, those types of products, and they are products, they've become so distant from authentic, genuine people productions that you can just, I mean, people have grown addicted to the hyper refined, bite size, top 10 list type of stuff. Reddit would call it karma farming, sort of, you know, picking the best thing and retweeting it or reposting it or whatever. And so there's this element of giving people what they want in a casino drug dealer kind of sense, you know, making that dopamine shot, never saying anything that upsets people. So you're watching the video as a smart person and you're like, man, this is really blowing sunshine. And I'm like, I intrinsically doubt it. But at the same time, I realize that that's reactionary too. And it's like, there's probably flattering truth there. And I shouldn't reject truth just because it's flattering any more than I should accept it just because it's flattering. So I try and, you know, separate myself from it, to be like, okay, try to just remove yourself from the equation. How much of this it really does make sense? And of course, a lot of it logically does. You know, basically, it goes with the idea that being intelligent is by definition being an outlier. Like even on an island of geniuses, there's going to be one that's like more than the others, and that one will have a difference relative to the others. You know what I'm saying? It's like a constant, it's a positional good, so to speak. So there's always a distance, and there's consequences to that. But also there's stuff baked in. Like anytime you see media that's aimed at a large audience on YouTube, it will always mention employment, you know, and it will always toe a party line of sorts. And the idea of intelligent people being unemployed is something that these things are never going to admit. They never like mention that or accept that it's a thing. You know, it's like in American society, culture must always say that intelligence equals money. And I grew up hearing that, you know. I had kind of, I'm 43, I think, right? Time sense. But I grew up in a small town in Kentucky, and I had the small grade school education thing where they handled intelligence in a very cliche way. You know, we had the smart kids class and we had the learning disabled class, but I happened to be in both at the same time because, you know, I was dyslexic and I had some emotional issues that we would now call, you know, autism, but at the time were called stuff like attention deficit, you know. Maybe ADHD exists in kids. I don't know. I'm not a child psychologist, but I don't think I had that. I think I just was autistic. Like when I was diagnosed autistic, I was like, wow, that explains a lot of stuff that I thought was like small levels of a lot of conditions, when in fact it's really just a lot of the one condition, pretty much. I've got some physical things too, like you can see my hand is deformed, right? That's CP, and I've got it on my right side. My face is a little bent, and that's why. And when I get headaches, you know, it's always on the right side, you know, that kind of stuff. Um, but yeah, I learned to read. I don't ever remember not knowing how to read. I learned to read apparently immediately, and I learned to speak immediately. Like, they were, there's stories of me talking, I'm told, from times when you shouldn't, when kids shouldn't be speaking, like attempting to verbalize in a non-crying way as an infant kind of stuff. And my parents are brilliant. Mom's a nurse, dad worked at a college for 30 years. It's like they're, and in tech, he wasn't just rando professor. He was like running the place behind the scenes pretty much on a technical level. And so when I went to school, it was obvious right away that there was, something different about me. I won't say child prodigy. I didn't have that full on experience, and I'm not that much of an outlier, but I am an outlier, for those reasons. Like physically, I couldn't really keep up. I was heavy limp and braces when I was a toddler and that kind of stuff. And then, the emotional weirdness, and then the intellectual jumpstart on development. I mean, I wasn't like universally awesome at school. I sucked at stuff like math. I'm terrible at math. I would say to the point of probably dyscalculia to a degree. But there was always this understanding, I was one of the smart kids, and the system approached me as such, and that's why they were like, "Here, do the science program," and I stomped it. I won all the competitions, like all the way to state level until I got kicked out of extracurricular activities. They put me on extracurricular suspension because I clashed with the system real hard. I even had a teacher frame me for cheating at computers, like back when that was a thing. Like they accused me of cheating in computer class, and that's a whole thing. Obviously, I didn't. I just was really, I knew what I was doing, and of course, it was Dad's job, so it was all over home, and it was just like, this is air to me. I do this without thinking, and like I was certainly the first kid in the school system to try and bring a laptop to school. You know, and they didn't like that. They were like, "That's typing. That you're cheating." And I'm like, "Look at my hand. I couldn't write well." And they treated it as a discipline problem. Classic Southern, old school bullshit. They were like, "Here, you're just not trying hard enough to make this beautiful, elegant cursive script. So here's a bunch of papers. Write the letter A 5,000 times." I mean, we're talking literally hundreds of times. They would be like, it's like a sheet with A. You're supposed to write lines of A's, and of course it all looked terrible, and but at the same time as all that, they were also always adding it to the smart kid thing. It's like, well, we expect to have problems with him because he's a genius, So they would have me sit down with a therapist or whatever, and they'd give me the IQ test, and I took it, and there's all this talk about the results, and we probably shouldn't have told you, and I'm like, I already knew, and they would just constantly put me in that smart kid pigeonhole. The problem is, that came with things like, I've noticed that people who aren't intelligent view intelligence like magic, and TV is really bad about this. Like, a smart person on TV is a magician, and there's like a whole genre of TV shows that are like the magician genre. It's like Lie to Me, that show with Tim Roth, which I love. Tim Roth is awesome, right? Or The Good Doctor or Doogie Howser. You know, that was probably the first one that I can remember, or House. And always, intelligence is supposed to convey this superpower. You know, they just magically pop up with solutions. And there's this notion that you can just smart your way out of anything. And there's truth to that. It's obviously a versatile attribute to have. You know, it's like being tall. You can reach all sorts of stuff. That's handy, right? And it's applicable in a wide range of situations. But it doesn't always mean what everyone seems to think it means. And a lot of this media plays into the flattering aspects of that mythology, so to speak. And I just wanted to talk about it because I feel like I'm in a position to do so, and I'm used to being called, you know, arrogant and all this stuff, and I don't have a job to risk, and I don't really have friends or coworkers to alienate. I live in this room, and maybe that's obvious, and maybe I'm a lunatic, whatever. You know, it's for history to judge, if it even cares to look in my direction, right? Which, you know, it doesn't, judging from comments and interactions and whatnot. Nobody fucking cares, really. And that's fine too, whatever. Could be worse, I get it. But I just felt like I should talk about it a little bit because it's just so loaded. Like, there's guilt. You know, it's like, man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being smart. I'm sorry for being confident in my opinion because I've read a bunch and I have a bunch of reasons to think it. Like, I remember reading a thing. They said that the average intelligence of cult members is higher than normal. And there was some interesting speculation on why. And it's like, it was just interesting. A lot of it was like, well, because they're so smart, they're overly confident in their views, and that makes them easier to scam. And I can attest, I'm an easy mark. I've been scammed a lot in my life because being scammed and countering scamming is a skill. That's not intelligence. That's training. You know, it's like playing violin. It's like, I'm not an idiot because I don't speak 5 languages. Now, granted, bright people can speak lots of languages, and I'd say there's a correlation there. But at the same time, you have to learn it. You know, you have to sit down and try. You have to have a speaker or have motivation to do so, and maybe I don't. And you can be skilled and be an idiot. You know, we've all met people like that who are just basically machines. They do their one thing and they're amazing at it, but they couldn't survive through their day without their family holding their hand. You know, and I'm kind of in a similar boat. Like, I would totally be homeless right now or dead if it weren't for family that really is just like, no, we're just not going to let you be homeless. Here, have a corner. And that's great. And I'm, you know, always deeply grateful for things not being worse. But yeah, that's true. You know, it's like cult members. We like, not that I'm a cult member, but that intelligent people want to be a part of something, and it's hard to find your place when you're, by definition, an outlier. And hi, yes, hi. Don't press any buttons, please. Turn around. Turn around and lay down. Meow. Quit touching me. I kind of forgot where I was going. Lots of distraction, lots of overloading, lots of tree of thought, you know, different. Yes. Yes. And I don't know. And I feel guilty about that. You know, I don't like breaking the flow. I don't like ruining the video, so to speak. And it kind of goes back to the difference between authentic stuff and stuff that's been scripted and planned and edited and cool graphics and all that stuff, authenticity matters to me a lot. Like, I feel really put upon when I'm lied to, or when I can detect some kind of attempted manipulation, in media and stuff that's aimed at me. Like the X of Y intelligent stuff is similar to the X of Y autism stuff. It's all like habits and traits and you might be and actually, and there's just so much lies. I would say the defining characteristic of Western culture is lies. Like, the thing that keeps us from being bombed is propaganda. The thing that keeps the citizenry from revolting is propaganda. We're being bled white, and we're not pitchforks and torches, because we have the best liars on the planet. We don't even have a government, and I think I'll stop there and transition into another video. Yeah, so thanks for watching. This was a personal thing and commenting about intelligence and everything, but I'm kind of motivated to talk about government and social policy and stuff now. So, thanks. There'll be a video right after this one.